Hello and welcome to the Brazilian BA Guest. I'm doing a series of interviews with different people from different parts of the world talking about nimbleness or how to be nimble. And being nimble, a capability of an organization to sense and respond to change quickly and precisely. Today we are going to talk about strategy, or organizational strategy, or business strategy. And for that, I have a guest coming directly from Australia, Mr. Tim Coventry. Hello, Tim. Thank you for coming.
Welcome, Fabrizio, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here, Tim. As you know, Tim, we always start with a question. My question for this episode is, what does strategy look like in a nimble organization? I thought, Tim, if you could start by defining what strategy is, because people may have different uh, interpretations or different definitions for strategy. How about that?
Absolutely. So, let's start off with, what is a strategy, and I think I'm gonna start off a little bit controversial here, Fabrizio, and I'm gonna just say at the start here is that strategy is not everything. Okay, so what's really important when we talk about a nimble or a business agile organization, I'm going to say that strategy is not everything. And I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on. It's not just a shiny, bright page document that sits in a drawer. It's so much more than that. But let's have a look at what is strategy? And I guess what I want to try to set up before diving into some of those definitions is what is the urgency around improving strategy? What is the urgency with business agility and being nimble as an organization? So the first thing that I want to just say is that research has shown from McKinsey that in 1958, the average year of an organization was 61 years. 61 years an organization would be around. Now, the predictions from McKinsey is that in 2027, that's likely to be 18 years. So we're moving from a 61 years down to a life expectancy of 18 years. So if I put that internally, my business has been around for 20 years. So that means that for my business to remain relevant, it means that I've got to do something incredibly different to not only be around, but survive and be relevant as well. So it's sort of a bit of a boom, a wow moment when you actually start seeing that the predictions is 75% of all the S&P 500, 75% of the S&P 500 will not be around, right? So we are going to see mass changes that occurs, and we already have started to see this, but I just don't think that we've seen the acceleration. I think that there's a lot of change that's actually going to happen, which is going to put real pressure on strategy. And the pressure on strategy, I think, is going to be better at strategy. Remembering that I said strategy is not everything. So it's sort of the pressure on strategy is going to be much greater. But I think then also the pressure is going to be on what are the other things that support strategy to make sure that it's implemented well.
Right. So the key that you're bringing is for the importance of strategy survivance.
Yeah, look, when
business survivors, right?
Correct. It's no use having the old organization that's been around for years and years and years, and it's just they don't even think too much into the future because it's just been always that way. We've always done stuff the same old way. So that amount of urgency is really going to come to the forefront, I think.
Right. If I understand you very well, and let me try to follow your lead. Organizations in the 60s or in the 50s also had a strategy, and they lived 60 years using those strategies. And that's not the point that they didn't have a strategy and now we are going to have a strategy. The point is that the world did not change as much as it changes today. And so if you keep the same strategy, that doesn't guarantee you survivance for long. Is that the point?
Absolutely. And I think, COVID was a bad time for a lot of people. It affected the world. But what it also did was that it actually gave opportunity to different types of business models. And you will see that there were some organizations that changed their business model to adapt, to take a bad situation, but make it into a reasonably good one. And they've survived of that. I mean, my local coffee shop, what they did was they organised with the council, and the council responded really, really well to their strategy, but they put through a drive-through. And since COVID, they kept the drive-through, as well as they've expanded their internal. So during COVID, they actually reduced their internal. So they increased a prep area and shortened all the number of tables and chairs. Then while COVID was around, they had this drive-through, so you could actually, and they had a really good online app that they spun up quite quickly. And I still use it today. I can book my coffee, my wife's coffee, and my coffee, and anything that the kids might want, and hit go. And then by the time I drive down there, it's all ready and it's brought out to the car. So and what they've done now is they've just moved into the shop next door, because they've created this marketplace where people now, it's just a no-brainer. That's where you go to get coffee in the local area. So their strategy of thinking through how to adapt has been incredible from a very local point of view, and that coffee shop has really increased, whereas the coffee shop that is on the other side of the shopping complex is almost out of business, because they haven't adapted. Nothing to do with their coffee, nothing to do with the products that they're actually delivering, but how they've adapted to the situation and how they've been able to market their brand has been an incredible difference. Now that's a very non-tech area, right? It's a non-tech area, but it does use an app, so they've adapted to that area. So what I would say is that, yeah, sure, there's going to be industries that aren't going to be as, Microsoft and Google and Apple and, BMW and all of these sorts of organizations. They're on the leading edge, but there's many different organizations that aren't as high tech. But at some point in time, technology and software, we are in a software-driven economy now. Somewhere it interfaces. If I couldn't order my coffee with an app and it be really, really easy and simple, I wouldn't be going to that coffee place. So it's enhanced their products and services. So I think the key thing out of this, Fabrizio, is that I don't think we've seen it yet. It's coming, but I don't think the real impact we've actually absorbed what the urgency is going to be around really good strategy, and then some of these other components as well. But I don't want to spend too long on that one. I want to dive down into it to strategy, and
Yes,
find
just
strategy.
to bring us some dialogue for this conversation. I like it when you mentioned COVID, because that's a change that everyone perceived in the world. So
Yeah.
that's something that happened with everyone at the same time. So it's easy for everyone to relate to that situation and think about how organizations had to change their strategy. And not just strategy, because strategy is not all. I'm learning that.
Right.
I will learn more, but I'm already learning something. They just didn't have to change just strategy. They had changed it a lot, but they had changed their strategy. And you talking about how they use it, an app, so digital transformation for a business that's not digital, that's coffee shop, right? And they didn't even need a computer probably, but they realized it a way and introduced it in their strategy, some digital components, some technology components. Like here, what we are doing initially is not technological. We're just chatting, but all the tools that we're using LinkedIn, YouTube, StreamYard. I promoted it using images that I created using artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of technology that we are using, and I decided to use to make this possible. And
you're on one side of the world, I'm on the other side of the world.
yes,
it's night and it's day. You know, it's pretty cool.
Technology enables us to create some strategies that would not be possible without technology, and that's the point, right? So we can realize. But bringing back strategy is not all. So what's a strategy?
Okay, so really, you know, what strategy, and I'll go to a definition, because I like to go to, you know, back to a definition, because it always helps everybody come back to what is strategy, because there's lots of different interpretations. And I think we have really some good examples of strategy, but a lot of the time we see bad examples of strategy. I think really what it is, you know, the definition that I'll use is it's a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. So to me, it's a direction of where you're heading. If you're in a boat and you're moving, the strategy is about where you're going to end up, and what sort of endpoint do you want to be in. Now, to me, it should set out, and I'll peel this back to business analysis. A good strategy should set out the current state. So you should start with the current state. And I think a lot of people fail with strategies because they don't start with the current state. Should start with the current state. It should then also define the future state. And then how to get there is the gap that is associated between the current and also the future. And so the activity that you're going to do over a certain amount of time is going to be plugging that gap to end up at the future state. And I think a good strategy, and I've seen some figures where 95% of strategies fail, which is a shocking figure. But I think one of the key things around a strategy is that it must be measurable. If you cannot measure it, then I think that it's not a good strategy at all. Now that is, to me, is really difficult. It's an incredibly hard thing is to find defined measures, and people hate defining measures because it's hard work. But to me, unless a strategy has that measure, then to me it's not really that useful, because it leaves it open to interpretation, and interpretation is the worst thing that can occur within a strategy in an organization.
I want to paraphrase you again, just to to see if I can understand you better. Well, so said, there's the current state, and let's say the desired state, right? And so to create a strategy, I should be able to define clearly my current state. And if not clearly, but I should have a definition of my future state or where I want to go. And being able to define those two situations, I can identify the gap between them. And this should be measurable. Otherwise, I probably did not define it well if I cannot measure those things. And my strategy is a plan to leave current state and go to the future state that I'm looking for. In the definition you read, there was a long-term plan. I wonder if strategy is just for long-term, or if I could use that word for short-term initiatives as well. Like today I want to cut my hair, but I don't have time, so I create a strategy for a very short time. Could that be a strategy as well, defined as strategy, or a strategy specifically for something that I look in like 2 years, 3 years? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that was just a definition from a dictionary. So I would say that I would probably remove the long-term part of that, and I would say within a time frame.
All right.
So I think that's one of the things that I think you've got to say that it's the strategy is only to move the organization from the current state to the future state within a time period. Now that could be a long time, that could be 5-10 years strategy, or it could be short term, it could be 6 months. But you've got to be able to say that now the future state then becomes the current state, and once the future state is the current state, then you're going to do another strategy as well. So you're constantly changing. To me, a strategy is just a plan around change.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I think I'll come back to that as well, in that those time frames need to be absorbable. Okay.
So if I change my plan every week, it may create some confusion in my team, right?
Exactly.
And I'll
quote a Fabrizio comment that I picked up from you, in that sometimes pace is more important than speed. And I think that's really a good thing that you've talked a lot about, which is around this idea of pace, not speed, for an organization. Often we get confused around the importance of speed. Let's be urgent. Let's do lots of things. Okay. I've got to do a podcast. I've got to cut my hair today. I've got to listen to Brazilian music. All of these things, these activities are all about speed. But does that bring happiness to Fabrizio, doing all of these activities, or do you need to pace yourself more? And I think that and I know that you've talked about this a lot, Fabrizio, but I think it's really important to talk about this in terms of strategy. That pace for many organizations is more important than speed. For a startup, you can have speed. You can be quite agile and show business agility. But I think business agility for a larger organization is just slightly different. It's still business agility, but it's done at pace. It's done at a consumable change that helps organizations, because really a strategy is key to making sure that you're leading the marketplace. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you have to lead the marketplace by, a mile or a kilometer down the road. Really, all you're trying to do is you're trying to outpace your competitor. So if you think about it like a marathon race, doesn't matter whether you win by a kilometre or a mile down the road. All you have to be is a metre or a yard in front of your competitor. And often speed can be at the detriment of winning a marathon, because you end up by moving into anaerobic threshold, you start to hit the wall, and you won't win. So pace, sometimes pulling the pace back to beat your competitor, it can be a really good way of implementing a strategy.
That's the tale of the turtle and the rabbit, right?
Absolutely.
Tail, I'm not sure if it's a rabbit or a, but
guess we've defined strategy. What about nimble? Can I throw that one to you?
Yes, I actually have I believe something I can use here as a prompt. So nimble is the scalable capability for organizations to sense and respond to change quickly and precisely. I want to put a spotlight in 4 words here. First one is sense and respond. So a capability for organizations to understand what's going on and respond. And so it's not just responding, it's about sensing as well. And some of my guests here talking to me about the importance of sensing correctly and not just responding quickly, but responding precisely. And that's very related about how you sense and how you evaluate the alternatives and how do you choose the best course of action, or the course of action that brings the most valuable outcome for our stakeholders. So nimble is more about what you think and how you organize your ideas than how you really fastly act, right?
And I guess that's where it becomes really, really difficult, because what I said before was, strategy is important, but strategy to me is not everything. Mm-hmm. And I think then this comes down into all of these characteristics or behaviors that really support the strategy. So, you talked about nimble, and really there's a lot of probably cultural things there that need to be there to support the strategy. And this is the bit that I just wanted to talk a little bit about now, is that a strategy really is a plan and it's an action over a time frame. A good strategy really looks at measurable results. So to me, you've got to get back down to what's the business trying to do, whether you're a profit organisation, a not-for-profit organisation such as IBA, or whether you're a government organisation. You really need to define really what are the business results that are going to be the important key measures that we're inevitably going to refer back to and make sure that we're on target and we're seeing how effective the strategy is. And when I think about those, I really think that they come down to only a few categories. I think we overcomplicate all of the definitions around the strategy. In the end of the day, everything traces back to increased revenue, decrease expenses, or increasing the depth within a product and service. Everything around a strategy can be boiled down into these 3 dimensions, if you like. I think with a strategy, the key thing around a strategy is that, and what I would argue is, and I'll give you an example of this, is in the world, we have lots of strategies. We're sold strategies every single day. And a lot of those strategies fail. So let's have a look at what is really important to go with the strategy. And I think this comes back to your definition around nimble and how that supports a strategy. So a strategy to me is not everything. To me, in agile has become a methodology a bit within our profession, and it shouldn't. It really should be a mindset. I think this is the way it was defined originally. It's certainly the way that I've used agile. It's really around a mindset. It's not just a methodology. It's got to be peeled back to how am I thinking? How am I operating? How am I trying to get the best outcome linked back to a strategy? How can I do that in the best possible way for the organization? So strategy to me is not everything. I think strategy is one thing. It is important, but it's not everything. I think mindset is really important. I think the story that you tell yourself, and then the action that you take. Right, now, let me peel that back a little bit. All right.
So you gave me strategy, mindset, story, and action, right? 4 elements. Am I counting it right?
Yep, got it.
Okay. No.
All right.
Please be my guest. Talk about every one of those because I want to connect them.
Cool. I'll just give you an example, right? So, look, there's a million different diets out there, right? You've probably seen them. You probably get them all, sent to you all the time, Fabrizio, this diet and that diet and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see those things coming through social media?
Yeah.
The shake diet, the banana diet, the
all meat,
lean meat
diet.
Cool. So there's lots of strategies. So why do we still have people still struggle with their weight, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, you can have all the strategies under the sun, but it's your mindset. What are you telling yourself, right? What are you saying to yourself about this diet, right? Oh, I that it's not going to work for me. Oh, this is too hard, So for some reason, your mindset is really the key to why the strategy might not work.
Okay.
And the story that you're telling yourself to your mindset is, it's not going to work for me. I can't do this, right? So your actions are going to go against your story that you're telling yourself because of your mindset.
Okay, I got it. So I may have the best strategy in the world, but if I don't believe it, if I don't have the attitude, if I don't behave like I should, the strategy will fail, and that's not strategy's fault. It's
correct. It's the implementation of the strategy.
Yeah.
Right? And often we see that in organizations, is that an organization will have a strategy. It's a beautiful glossy brochure that's been developed by one of the big fours, right? And it sits in a drawer, and it's not communicated out to everybody within the organization.
Or even if it is, nobody believes in the strategy or don't have their heart or their.
Here we go again, another strategy,
Right.
And the story that we tell ourselves is it's never going to work,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And therefore the actions are exactly against the strategy. And I remember this clearly when I worked for an organization, and it was the time when I realized that I needed to move on from the organization, right? And I think that that was a key turning point for me, because I remember sitting in a room and there was 20 odd people, and we were talking about a new initiative, and the comments around the room were, this is never going to work, right? And it wasn't said openly, it was said behind closed doors.
Right.
So already the mindset wasn't even to give it a go, And the story that people were telling themselves is that this is never going to work. And therefore the actions, inevitably, whether they're conscious or subconscious, are going to erode the strategy. So I think, to me,
let me just add a point, because it's so important. I've heard this once or twice, that if you say it's not going to work, or if you say it's going to work, you're always right.
Correct.
Because
you are. You are.
Because that's, if you have the mindset to make it work, it's gonna work. If you had the mindset not gonna work, it's not gonna work. So both mindsets will work well.
Correct. I mean, there's a great story about Sabrina Williams and her coach, her ladder coach, Patrick Mahoniku. And he told, at Wimbledon, she was almost losing matches, even in the first round, and she just was not playing well. She was not attacking the net. And he said to her, hey, I'm not worried. She'll be right, because when you go to the net, 80% of the time, you're always going to win. And she said, what do you mean? I'm playing terribly at the net. And he said, no, 80%, the stats show 80%. When you go to the net, you are going to win. Now, that wasn't 80% that tournament. It was 80% overall. So he was telling a little bit of a white lie there. But next day, she went out there and she smashed it, and she eventually won Wimbledon that year. So if mindset, to me, is really, really important, because that's what tells you the story. And if you're telling yourself the story, then I think that ultimately helps you with your actions that you move towards.
So calm down, because you were too fast right now. So you had the strategy, and you have the mindset. And now you say, if you tell yourself the story, so the story is another component, you can change your mindset to believe the strategy, and your actions are going to be in alignment with your strategy. So that's where those four components connect. The story helps you to create your mindset that aligns your actions to your strategies. Did I got the picture?
Absolutely.
Nice, I like it.
And I think that the thing on from that is that somewhere a lot of people believe that there are only two types of luck. There's good luck and there's bad luck. Well, I don't think that's true. And Tom Corley, in his book, he talks about four types of luck. He talks about good luck. Yay, I won the lottery. Bad luck. Oh, I was in a car accident. He talks about opportunistic luck, which is, I go to bed, I exercise every day, I try to eat the right foods, I don't drink too much alcohol, I don't gamble too much, and I study, I learn, I get my CBAP, all those things, and all of a sudden, whoa, I have good luck. Right? That's opportunistic luck. So he categorizes that differently. And then the fourth one is detrimental luck. I drink too much. I smoke too much. I gamble. I don't study. I don't read books. And guess what? Bad luck. Right? But it's detrimental luck. So to me, and it comes back to, Gary Player's great comment where he said, the more I practice, the luckier I get.
Yeah. Actually, there's no luck. Or as Mastery Ugui from Kung Fu Panda used to say, there is no accidents. Right? Everything happens. If you have a car accident, someone was driving unsafely, probably. So it's not exactly an accident. If you won the lottery, you choose it to make a game.
You-
It was not
You're
by
in with the
accident.
chance, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're right. You're right.
You made an investment, right? So
Maybe there are only two types of luck. Maybe it's opportunistic and detrimental. So look, the last thing I guess probably wanted to talk a little bit about was what does I guess business analysis have with nimble? I think that's the key thing. How do we enable, I guess, organizations to be have greater business agility? Well, I think that really there is a connection there. I think, the really great thing in the world is everybody does business analysis. Every organization does business analysis, right?
don't pass through that too fast, because that's an important concept. Tell me more. When you say everybody does business analysis, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm not a business analyst. I have never read the BA book."
No.
All of these, can these guys say I do business analysis? I don't even know what business analysis is.
Everybody does business analysis. Everyone.
So what is business analysis? Please explain.
Okay. What is business? Can I just say that the really great thing is everybody does business analysis. Every organization around the world does business analysis. Right? That's the really great thing.
So what is business analysis?
The really bad thing, Fabrizio, is everybody does business analysis, and every organization around the world does business analysis. That's a really bad thing, right? Because then you don't know what the quality of the business analysis is going to be. So let's go into, what I think is business analysis. Well, to me, business analysis is all around creative thinking. I think creative thinking is an absolute key to business analysis. Problem solving is key to business analysis. We do analysis, sure. We do analysis, it's in the name, business analysis. But really importantly, with business analysis, you need synthesis as well. You have to do T-shaped analysis, breadth and depth. You need to see everything as a whole. I think you do root cause analysis. I think that's key to being a good business analyst. You have to be able to do root cause analysis. And you really, at the end of the day, you're solving problems, or you're taking advantage of opportunities. And that really is the key. It's the key to strategy. That is what a strategy is all about. It's about solving problems or taking advantage of an opportunity. And that is why organizations have a strategy. So if business analysis, and we go back to the IBA definition of business analysis is the practice of enabling change in an organization context by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. Now, did I say the same thing?
I believe it makes a lot of that's a great explanation, and it connects with your definition of strategy. Again, what's my current state? What's the future state I desire? So what's the gap between those? And now you just use a different words. You're talking about problems and opportunities. So my current state's here, I want to be there. So maybe I have a problem, or maybe it's an opportunity. If I'm poor and I want not to be poor, it's a problem. If I'm rich and I want to be richer, it's an opportunity, right? So, and I must define that and understand the context around me, right? So that's the definition that we are talking about, current and future state, and define the gaps, and understand the context about all of this, and identifying the solution that brings the highest value for stakeholders. So that's what business analysis is all about.
Yeah, and it's about having the right mindset. If you want to move from being poor to being rich, you've got to have the right mindset to move you between those gaps. What are the things I'm going to go without to get me from my current state to my future state, right? That's a mindset. And am I going to be happy doing that along the way? Because if it's not happy and you're miserable, you're probably not going to do it along that way.
Yeah.
So all of those things, I think, really come into play around that. I think the really key thing, and this is the, I've got to say this before we end this today, is that traceability is key. Traceability is the number one competency that business analysts bring that is really missing within strategy. The Agile extension talks about 3 different horizons. It talks about the strategy horizon, it talks about the initiative, and it talks about the delivery. Now, traceability between those 3 horizons is so important. And this is why so many strategies fail, is that there is no traceability that's occurring. The measures and the metrics that you're putting on a good strategy, if you're not tracing that, then how do you know where you are? How do you, in a complex environment where things are moving all the time, traceability is the one thing that really targets back onto why something exists or why something is changing throughout that progress. If a strategy is dynamic, and I think a strategy needs to be dynamic, you must have that traceability between strategy and delivery.
And when we mention those horizons, I think it's worth it to explain a little bit that the strategy horizon has a longer term than the initiative horizon, and this initiative horizon has a longer term than the delivery horizon. So those are different levels. They don't like to use the word, but different ways of looking for an organization. One is looking for the whole organization in a long-term plan. The other one is looking for a specific initiative or product in a shorter term, and the other one is looking for a specific delivery inside of an initiative or a product. And if they, what you call it, traceability, if they are not aligned, you're never gonna get your strategy done. You're just delivering stuff that are not connected to the initiative, that are not connected to the strategy. So the traceability, if I understood it well, is the ability to see how things that you are doing today connects with the long-term plan of your organization. Am I right?
Absolutely. And if something changes, or you find that maybe your competitor is doing something different, and you need to cover them off. They've, like in a marathon run, they've made a move. Do you need to cover them, or do you stay at your own pace? It's traceability that allows you to connect between your strategy and also your delivery. And remember that we talked about that a strategy is just current state, future state gap. Really, your initiative horizon and your delivery is just that gap. Should be focused in on the gap. You're just trying to close off what that gap is to enable your strategy to be delivered. And the dynamics between that traceability, it could change. You could find that COVID could hit halfway in the middle. You don't just keep on delivering, you need to go back to your strategy, and that may affect all of your delivery underneath.
I'm tempted to try to make some summary of what I learned today with you. So my question for you is, what does strategy look like in a nimble organization? And you spoke a little bit about how the strategy must be able to change fastly. You spoke why it's important for an organization to have a nimble strategy, being able to change, because the world is changing so fastly, and otherwise they won't survive. And you define it not just as how strategy looks, but how an organization with a nimble strategy look. That you mentioned that this organization must have the right mindset, open to change, open to understand what's going on and willing to change. They should have the right story, or people should connect That's the traceability that you said, right? So they should connect what they're doing right now with the strategy that that organization aligns, and they should have the right action, the action connected to strategy, and the action about understanding what's going on. And that's the part of sensing that we mentioned. What did I miss?
I think you got it pretty good there. Really good. I think the only thing that I could say is that everybody does business analysis, but not everyone is trained in business analysis.
Not everyone's doing it well.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, organizations are want to do it well. So my question is why aren't they? Why, I guess, and maybe we can put this out to the people on this call or after, is drop into the comments. Why do you think organizations are not doing business analysis and strategy well? Because I don't think they want to not be doing it well. I don't think people wake up in the morning and going, oh, geez, I hope my strategy fails today. I don't think people do that. I'm sure people wake up with great intentions. So why has it happened?
Okay. Any tips or any ideas about why?
Yeah, look, there is, and I'll probably just want to summarize, what I think a really good organization looks like with strategy. I really think that a good organization with strategy focuses in on organizational results. I think that's got to be it. Your organization really has to be explicit with what it means to be a successful organization. They need to define that really quite clearly.
Measures that you mentioned about strategy. There is no good strategy if you cannot measure it. There is no understanding of current and future state if you don't define it measurable.
Absolutely no reason for that. Now that doesn't mean to say that you can't have some organizational results that may take a lot of time to actually measure, and you have to be creative around how you measure them. I want all of my team to be happy, right? Well, how do I measure that? Okay, well, I need to put some sort of measure around what that happiness factor looks like.
Okay.
And I need to take that time to really get a bit of an understanding about what that means, what the context of what that statement that seems very unmeasurable, but I'm sure it's measurable. Customer obsession. I think you have to have customer obsession. And what I mean by customer obsession is that what you want, most organizations all over the world, in actual fact, even IOBA, non-profit organization, its measures is really around customer obsession. You want people to purchase what your products and services are, your membership. You want to make sure that they're repurchasing it, so they're continuing to be part of the whole organization. And then you want to make sure that they're recommending you as a brand. Now those three things are really the key factors that you want to have to make sure that you're customer obsessed. And all of those factors should actually trace back to your organizational results. Now, how do you get this stuff? Well, I really think it's due to data. Data is the real key to make sure that you're measuring these things, that you're putting some weights on that. And I think that, with prescriptive, descriptive, and prescriptive types of data, we are moving into to an age where some of that data measurement is going to be a lot easier. And we're going to be able to get some right results or some good learnings towards our strategy if we set our strategy up right first. It's no use just getting data and not having the data pointed in some ways, because your data can also tell you lies as well. So it's about trying to get those setups really well. And then I think, pace is another important thing. I think we've mentioned that, Fabrizio, today, that the pace rather than speed. I think there's a lot of noise in the industry about speed, but sometimes, speed cannot be really, really useful if you don't have a good strategy. You must have a good strategy. I talk a little bit did a bit of ocean swimming in my time, and I say that no use being the fastest if you're just swimming straight out out away from shore, and you're not swimming towards where you're meant to be swimming. If you've got a buoy that you've got to go around, you need to lift your head, look at where you're going every so often to make sure that you're on track. If you don't do that, you're just swimming out to sea, and you're going to be eaten by a big shark quite quickly, right? So, strategy is about realigning yourself, and I think traceability is the key. You've got to have traceability. In that example of an ocean swim, by looking up, you're really tracing. You're tracing to the buoy. You're doing forwards tracing back to the buoy. Where am I meant to be heading? Well, I'm meant to be heading towards that floating thing in the ocean, and that's if I swim straight there, I'm going to be agile. I'm going to be quick to actually make the buoy turn around and swim back to shore.
Yeah. And as we said, that the environment today changes very fast. It's likely that buoy could be changing place all over the time. So you have to trace back and look and understand and change your direction. It's not just about getting in making your plan that you defined earlier to work. You have to be realigning it.
Absolutely. Is there a rip, that I need to swim across? And what's the fastest bit of the rip? When I turn around the buoy, am I going to look for the best waves? Because the best waves are going to bring me into shore faster. So you can be quite agile, and if you have a look at an ocean swim race, you'll see that top competitors are very agile with changing their strategy on the fly to take the best opportunity of the conditions that we're in.
Or very nimble. I like it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you my final question for you, Tim. I know that you're writing a book. And how does that relate to strategy and the conversation we spoke today?
Yeah, good. I mean, Angela Wick and I have spent since May last year going through and writing a book. The book's going to be out in the spring or fall, depending on which hemisphere you're in, but we're hopeful to get the book out there. But it's all around agility, AI, and also business analysis. So it's covering a whole range of topics. What we haven't covered off today is really the AI component, but we certainly talked a little bit about the agility side and the strategy. Angela and I see all of these are connected, and we've done some really great stuff to have a look at what's the impact of AI, why is there an urgency around this, and we've also talked a little bit about the competencies that are associated with business analysis and how the competencies in the future are really going to be key to our profession. Because what we do see is that all of these things are connected, that in actual fact, to implement AI, you need to have a really good strategy. You need to have the right type of mindset that's associated with this. and you also you need to do it in such a way that it's actually bringing value to the organization. So essentially, it's all business analysis, which is great for us as a profession. I think we've got a lot of educating to do with a lot of organizations. That's going to be our challenge. But we certainly have a front seat at the implementation of AI. So it's been a fantastic journey writing this with Angela. I've really enjoyed our constant communication together. She's in California, I'm in Australia. It's been really interesting, but yeah, it's coming out soon.
Nice. And if people want to follow you, probably here on LinkedIn, I'll put, for people who are watching us on YouTube, I'll put your link from LinkedIn so they can connect with you.
Fantastic.
Any other way that you prefer, a website or something?
LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It's a great platform. Link in with me. It's a really great way of just having that international community. I guess it's we talked a little bit about technology. It's a real plus, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing to have you here directly from Australia talking with me from Brazil. It was a great chat.
Well, it'll even be better when we see each other in Orlando, which is not very far away.
Once you mentioned, let's invite everyone who are watching us to be in Orlando at Building Business Capability Conference, the official IIBA conference, between 15 and 18, if I'm not wrong, of April. Is that right?
14th to the 19th.
14th to the 19th.
14th to the 19th. Yeah, I think that's
April. Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be very
not far
nice
away. So we'll be there drinking Californian wine, Brazilian wine, and Australian wine. It'll be awesome.
It's going to be fun. Tim, thank you very much. We're ending this episode right now. Please stay connected after the end because I want to talk a little bit more with you, but I would like to thank everyone who watched it live. Bye-bye, folks.